Hi, I'm Clay Stanley, and today I will be talking to you about the agricultural system of Ukraine. I apologize for the strange setup, but it's the only way I could get it to work, so and I apologize. I chose Ukraine because I've heard it be referred to as the breadbasket of Europe, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that, and especially with the conflict going on, I figured it would be a good topic, and I didn't really know very much, so I figured why not. So let's jump right in. So major crops, techniques, and seasonality. Wheat, corn, barley, and sunflower are the dominant crops in the Ukrainian agriculture, with rapeseed, potatoes, and crops to a lesser extent, but still important. Wheat is planted in the fall, and its winter wheat is planted in the fall and is harvested in the early summer, while summer crops like corn and sunflower are grown in the spring and harvested in the fall. Major farming techniques include crop rotation, precision agriculture, and no-till farming. My next slide here, I have a little graphic that shows the distribution of wheat production in Ukraine, and it seems like in the southeast, it seems like there's the most wheat production, but it's still like along the south, it seems pretty well distributed. Um, Local dishes. Oh no, I lost one of my images. That right here was a picture of borscht, um, which is beet soup, which honestly doesn't sound very appetizing. Vareniki, I apologize for the pronunciations, which are dumplings filled with potatoes, cheese, or cherries. All right, that's a little bit better. Alubu, Halubuti, which is stuffed cabbage rolls, which actually I looked into. It sounds pretty good. It's like ground beef or chicken mixed in with the rice, like spiced ground beef in a like within cabbage. I actually thought I looked at the recipes and thought I might actually try to make it, but maybe that's just because I was hungry when I worked on this. Um, Economic and policy aspects of agriculture. Agriculture in Ukraine has targeted state aid programs such as credit subsidies, crop insurance, and EU-aligned modernization funds. So there is plenty of aid given to agriculture in Ukraine just because of the massive yield that you get from that country. So it really makes sense. Ukraine's agriculture is heavily mechanized using sophisticated combine harvesters and GPS guided tractors. These farm technologies are also expanding even despite the ongoing war, which I think is pretty amazing, and it just shows how integral their agriculture is just to the world in general. And actually, a lot of their technologies are imported, which I'll be getting into next. Um, Exports and imports. Before the invasion, Ukraine exported around 27 billion in agricultural products annually, primarily wheat and sunflower oil. Its key export partners include the EU, China, and Turkey. The war has disrupted some exports through the Black Sea, affecting food prices. And for the last one here, I should say common imports. Common imports include fertilizers, pesticides, and farm machinery. And that just tells you right there how important their imports are just for their agriculture to exist as is. Well, I put John Deere there too because they import John Deere machines, so they very much rely on their imports to even do their exports and generate that massive $27 billion. Um, Again, I have a graph here that shows why the war in Ukraine threatens global food security, and you can see like wheat is 9% of it comes from Ukraine, 9% of it, which is pretty crazy. Barley, okay, I'm getting annoyed by this computer. Remind me tomorrow. Stop. Okay, so barley is 11% of the world, um, of the world's barley comes from Ukraine. 13% of the maize, so we've got some pretty big numbers here. Rapeseed 10%, so these these are pretty high. Um, Caloric intake. So this is kind of interesting. Though Ukraine produces enough food to feed its people many times over, caloric intake in regions where conflict is present are facing shortages, and that's just mainly to the damage of the infrastructure. because, like I said, there is plenty of food, but it's just because of the war. I would assume that's just natural of any place where there's conflict. Foreign crops, sunflower, corn, and soybeans are all foreign introductions and are essential to Ukrainian agriculture. So you see, many of these are not originally Ukrainian. So it's kind of interesting that they are also staples as well to their country. Environmental concerns, soil degradation, pesticide runoff, and loss of biodiversity are some of the primary environmental challenges that Ukraine's agriculture faces, though I would say many places face those same exact problems. Any kind of place with agriculture, probably. War damage only makes these problems even worse. We kind of, like we discussed in class, the natural disasters and hurricanes make the problems worse. It's kind of, I assume, well, I don't assume, but it is similar to that, where it makes those issues even worse just from a disaster. The Food and Agriculture Administration says approximately 30% of the farmland has been affected, which to me seems pretty catastrophic. So that ends my presentation. Here are my works cited. I've got 3 pages here. This was an interesting project. I learned a lot. And I think the moniker, the breadbasket of Europe, is quite fitting. And I hope this war ends soon. And I feel bad for Ukrainians because there's so much richness in their country, just resources and agriculture. So they're always going to be a target of someone else. Anyway, thanks for watching.